Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Today the full review on this Element Optics Theos rifle scope. So some of you may have seen the unboxing video I did on this rifle scope, and it is of course a brand new unit from Element Optics. It's a 34mm tube, 6 to 36 times magnification with a 56mm objective lens. This has been ruggedly developed over the last 3 years, and it does offer Element's lifetime warranty with no quibbles, no possible hassle whatsoever. So I'm very pleased to see they've stepped up the game. Now, the big thing you'll notice about this is it's like a dark grey anodised colour. This makes it quite different from most of the rifles, and of course you can see the picture of it here with some black anodised scope rings does make it look quite unique. But in terms of using this, I have been using this a lot with a trigger cam on top. So just to explain a few of the factors, a trigger cam is manually focused. Now, as magnification changes slightly, the actual eye relief changes infinitesimally small on this rifle scope. Like every rifle scope, it changes, and the trigger cam doesn't get automatically refocused like your human eyeball does. So if you see at any time the image or the reticle slightly out of focus, it's the trigger cam, it's not the scope itself. And we'll go more into the scope's features in a minute. Trigger cams can also get nudged a little bit like that, and if they do, the image it records doesn't look quite straight. So again, blame the trigger cam, it's not the rifle scope, because with your human eyeball this thing works absolutely perfectly. Looking through the scope's features start to finish, it's a 56mm front end, so you do get a nice proportion of tube size to objective size, and it's because letting as much light in as possible without significant ergonomic downsides. You get an aperture ring that will fit in here, and also a sunshade, and you can put those in any sequence you want. The aperture ring, like any photographic aperture, controls depth of field, so if you put the aperture ring in and you don't need extreme full amounts of light, you do get a greater depth of field in focus. Again, the sunshade is basically to keep away extraneous light entering and, causing disruption to your image. At this time of year with low sun, believe me, that's quite a fun problem for most of the days. Now, as you'll see in the video, you see me shooting, it's windy conditions, it's winter. So, this isn't a test of my shooting, it's a test of my happiness with the optic. I am very happy with the optic. Looking at the back end now, we've got a fast focus eyepiece, and there's a throw lever on the magnification collar. You've got loads of tube space on it, so it's easy to set up eye relief, and eye relief is 90mm. It's a bit shorter than the 100mm of some Magnum scopes, but actually in this situation that is a benefit with certain beneficial aspects to the eye box. It makes it slightly more forgiving, and you do get a slightly more forgiving exit pupil as well. Looking at, let's do the left side first. The illumination control is a push button here. Of course, being a push button, it means you're not accidentally changing illumination when you're trying to change parallax control there. Parallax runs from 10 meters to infinity, and it is backlash free, and it's very well weighted to adjust crisp and precisely so you get a really good image focus. Likewise, the fast focus at the back on the actual reticle inside in the first focal plane is also super crisp, and it's a flat field of view from edge to edge, so I'm totally happy with that. Now the turret has a totally new mechanical design from Element, and I love the fact it's got this little quirky rotation indicator on the back. Now for starters, it's got a zero stop, so it's difficult to see on camera, but that's zero stop and it's half a milliradian below zero. So if I go to there, that's now my zero. It means you can't get lost in your range of travel. Now as that goes round through the first rotation, that little lever there, you can just see it there, flicks, and it says rotation 2 on the back, which is very, very funky actually. Of course, it's all visible from the shooting position along with a marker for actual setting on the scope. Now, one thing most scopes have is adjustable zero. So, you adjust the rifle scope, you zero it as normal, then you change the turret so it marks that zero position. Most of them need Allen keys or other tools, not so with the Element. because this redesigned turret allows you to simply slacken off the knurl collar on top, lift the cap off and place it back down where you need to, and that also sets the zero stop too. Having that little bit of half milliradian negative travel is kind of handy. And I've zeroed this rifle at 50 meters. This is a 2.2 rimfire. So if I dial all the way up now, we've got 12 milliradians of adjustment per turn. That's in 10th milliradian clicks, which is 10 millimeters at 100 meters. So if I go all the way around now, we're on to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We've got 20 milliradians of adjustment left after being zeroed on this rifle. Now, the total travel for the scope is 29 milliradians vertically and 11.6 horizontally. So let's have a look at the horizontal windage dial now. Back to zero. Now, Element have used these little collars on here. Now you can remove these collars if you want. I'll just try and get this in camera. You can remove these collars, and if I take that collar off, I can use a cap over the dial instead. But if I take the cap off and I put the collar on, I've then got more of a turret type assembly, and this doesn't affect the waterproof nature of the scope because it's obviously fog proof as well. Similarly to the elevation turret, once you've set your zero position, just take off this outside dial here, turret slips off, put it back on at zero, and you're back in the middle. So you've got your zero locked in position and you're never going to visually lose it. Of course, it's not actually a locked turret because you've got all your windage and movement you require either left or right of centre, where it's very clearly marked. It's got very good engraving on it. I'm getting a bit older now and it's nice to be able to see clear numbers laser engraved on the dial so you can set it up cleanly. Now on the parallax dial, similarly, we've got infinity and it goes all the way down to 10 meters, which means that realistically you can put this scope on any rifle. Being 90mm eye relief means it's not going to be restricted on smaller rimfires, and although this isn't a small rimfire, it is a smaller rifle, and it's especially appreciated the fact that you don't have to strain to kind of get too far back from the scope or push the scope all the way forwards to get the correct eye relief. The exit pupil goes from 8.8 to 1.6 millimeters, which means that you've got quite a good field of view, and the field of view is 6.8 to 1.1 meters at 100 meters. So you don't have any problem quickly winding down the scope, finding targets, winding up as you need to, and then engaging the target. Having the reticle in the first focal plane means that your dial corrections match the reticle exactly. It's an APR 2D reticle with aim-off marks, and you've got them in windage and elevation, so that if you want to make a wind correction, you can either aim it off or dial it off, and it doesn't match perfectly. That is the whole joy of first focal plane, and it does not matter which magnification setting you're on. The zoom collar is knurled for control, so it's very easy to use, and of course you can add the throw lever in here, nip that in place, and that does make it a little bit quicker. Of course, with the trigger cam on top, I was a little bit more restricted in my access to the scope, but in normal use without a trigger cam, it's a very, very nice scope to use. All the controls are well weighted, there's no perception of any internal mechanical movement, and there's certainly no grittiness or grinding. Everything moves silently, other than the clicks, and on some of the video footage you'll hear the clicks, which are beautifully tactile and audible. So I can dial on 10 clicks, and yes, there are 10 clicks on there, so I can hear it and I can see it. It's not overtly noisy, and it's also very easy to get those clicks on exactly without overrun of going too far and sliding past the actual correct dialed amount you want. The APR 2D reticle focuses clearly with a fast focus eyepiece. It isn't too busy, the whole upper section of it is clear, so you can see bullet splash if you're watching for another shooter, for example, and it's not interfering with the other aim over marks and numbers on your reticle. Regardless of where you're looking in the field of view, everything is flat, and if you're looking at the numbers on the reticle, you can see them clearly. You're not having to fight the fast focus all the time, and that is indicative of the quality of the lens grinding element I've done. The clicks you can hear is me adjusting the intensity of the reticle. There are 10 settings, and these cover all light conditions from dusk all the way through to full daylight. You'll also notice there's no overbleed on the reticle, so you get a good crisp picture regardless of intensity setting. The Theos is a significant step up from any others of the Element range like the Helix or the Titan. It is more expensive. What are you getting for that money? Well, quite simply, you are getting all the mechanics, all the size, all the specifications, but you're also getting superb image quality. The lens grinding and coatings give very good colour balance, and the actual image rendition and the clarity of bullet holes and things like that you can see on target. Obviously also aiming at small targets at long distance is where this Theos does benefit over the other scopes in the Element range. Overall length is 377mm and overall weight is 1035 grams. You do get this stretch over neoprene cover, although I will say it is quite a heave to fit it over the optic itself, but once in place it isn't going anywhere. As well as the optic, this actually does protect the other rifles in your cabinet as well, because all these turrets on the side, you know, they're hard anodized aluminium, they are hard material, they will scratch wood, they'll scratch plastic, and of course having this neoprene over the top protects them as well as protecting your scope inside here. As well as tactile and audible clicks, the tracking of the scope itself was perfectly reliable, it corresponded with my currently no dope settings, and return to zero was also trustworthy. Well, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to click the notification bell to keep track of the weekly uploads. Please go through to the end of the video and there's a link on screen for tickets to the 2023 British Shooting Show. And if you click on the link, you can buy your tickets, and this year, tickets also include car parking at the NEC for the day of your stay. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.